All right, let's check in now with meteorologist Lisette Gonzalez. And Lisette, I had a question about storm surge, because that was kind of what we were preparing for. Now we're seeing more rain than we expected, right?
Right, and that is due to the fact that the core of Hurricane Irma that shifted to the west. As we saw the past few days, the cone, the models kept shifting to the west and keeping Irma moving more to the west of Broward and Dade County. And so those areas that were previously under an extreme risk of dealing with some severe storm surge, now not looking at that severe storm surge, instead could see some minor storm surge along coastal areas of Broward and Miami-Dade County, and even down through the Keys. We are going to see the potential for some very dangerous storm surge there, as well as now that risk is increasing and remaining high for the southwest coast of Florida and even up and down the Gulf Coast of the state and the east coast just north of us. So here it is. We just received the 11 a.m. Update, and yes, Hurricane Irma did make landfall at Cudjoe Key around 9:10 a.m. and that is across the lower Keys just north of Key West, and it is a Category 4 still. And when it made landfall, max sustained winds 130 miles per hour. That is still the case. So it has not weakened. It has maintained its strength, and it is a massive hurricane packing a lot of punch and impacting really the entire state of Florida. In terms of the future track right now, we of course have our thoughts with everyone living here along the Gulf Coast of Florida, because we could see a Category 4 Irma either moving just offshore or possibly making another landfall here around either Naples or the Fort Myers area, and likely continuing up the coast towards Tampa, potentially as a Category 3 as we head into this evening or later tonight, and then potentially also just bringing some devastating impacts here across parts of the Big Bend and also the Panhandle of Florida as a Category 1 hurricane. And then it's not until we get into tomorrow evening that we start to see it push away from the state of Florida and moving potentially into Georgia as a tropical storm, and thereafter Alabama or Tennessee, moving to the northwest away from us. The highest risk for those destructive hurricane force winds stretching along the Gulf Coast of Florida all the way from the Big Bend down across Tampa, Fort Myers, and Naples and Marco Island. All these areas here shaded in the red. Even some areas here across central Florida and Orlando could be dealing with some hurricane force winds. And down through the Keys, of course, they are currently in the eye wall and dealing with hurricane conditions as we speak. So that is the most dangerous, most destructive part of the hurricane, is the core. And we are starting to see the northern edge of that eye wall is lifting northward. But look at all of these lightning strikes and the deep shades of purple, and that is where we're seeing the most destructive winds and also the most torrential rainfall here. We're dealing with that eye wall here across parts of Marathon, Big Pine Key, Cudjoe Key, Key West as well. We're not getting a lot of data right now from Key West because the radar there is down, and that's not surprising. That tends to happen because of the sheer power of these winds, and we're seeing also that is the case with a lot of our radars and weather sites here across South Florida. But I want to widen up the view, and you can see that pretty much all of South Florida and northward dealing with the northern side of this hurricane, and we've only just begun. The weather's only going to get worse from here on out, especially for parts of Palm Beach County, Broward County, Miami-Dade County. So earlier we had a tornado warning in place for Palm Beach County, and we could see some more tornado warnings going up. So heads up there. And right now, as we zoom down towards Broward County, we are dealing with very fast moving squalls. Now, these rain bands are racing in around 80 miles per hour. So that's the reason we're seeing also that the winds are howling, and many of you are talking about how your shutters are shaking. It's just that these squalls just pack a lot of punch and are moving very quickly here across pretty much all of Miami-Dade County. I can actually hear the wind from in here, from the studio. The winds outside our studios in Doral have been howling. Even during the break, I was listening in, and it can be quite scary. So for those of you at home, we feel you, we're with you. We're going to ride out the storm together. All right, down into Homestead, we are dealing with some very heavy squalls as well across all the Keys at this time. And look at this. This is what we were talking about, not focusing on the cone. This is the reason why, because this hurricane is so huge that this is just the northern part of the hurricane encompassing the entire state of Florida practically. And we're seeing those squalls all the way up through central and north Florida at this time when we look at the radar. So our biggest threats, as Ruta Bay just mentioned, that storm surge threat, it has gone down for coastal areas of Broward. Miami-Dade County could still see some storm surge there, especially around Biscayne Bay and down through the Keys. And of course, the high threat for those destructive winds, rainfall, flooding potential increasing, as well as that risk of tornadoes. A tornado watch continues through noon today, and that could be extended, by the way. Also, a flood watch is in place through this evening, as we'll see the potential for flooding, because now that we are seeing Broward and Dade on the eastern side, those feeder bands setting up, leading to some training and rain just falling over the same areas over and over again. So we are under flood warnings as well, and flash flood watches in place for parts of Lake Okeechobee. Flood warnings extending northward across the entire state of Florida and now into parts of Georgia and even South Carolina. What about the rainfall potential, where all is said and done, some areas here across South Florida could be seeing anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of rain, but some areas could even see 15 to 20 inches of rain. And down through the Keys, we could potentially see 25 inches of rain or more. And that rainfall potential is high for Naples, Fort Myers, all these areas along the Gulf Coast, all the way northward to Tampa, even Orlando. And as we take a look at our live view from our Lauderdale by the Sea camera, the camera has been shaking so much that at times it'll just suddenly shift off. And Dave Warren, he's in the Weather Center, and he's going to just kind of pan so you can take a look at this rough surf and just how nasty the weather is right now. Our Hank Tester is actually reporting live from the air. And can I just give a shout out to our entire team of reporters out there that are weathering the wrath of Irma and are out there and providing us with information. And as Rick mentioned, you know, Hank Tester, he's been through so many of these hurricanes and covering these tropical storms and hurricanes through the years. And we're very fortunate that we have him and the rest of our team of journalists providing us with information to let you know at home what is going on out there. And this is just incredible to see how powerful Hurricane Irma is. Look at these palm trees. I'm surprised they're still standing, but I did hear that some of these palm trees had that resilience where you'll see the palm fronds coming off, but then it's just really quite impressive to see how destructive these winds can be. And the winds will continue to increase through this evening. So really, it's going to be an entire day event for us. Sustained tropical force winds currently going on 50 to 70 miles per hour. Hurricane force wind gusts 80 to 100 mile per hour gusts will be possible, all right, especially as we head into the middle of the day, the afternoon. It is not until overnight, my friends, that we start to see the winds decrease, and then the rain flood threat will still be increasing. That is for Broward and Dade County. For the Keys, what can you expect? Well, the lower Keys, you're dealing with that destructive eye wall right now. Hurricane force winds, the middle and upper Keys, the worst is occurring this morning with those hurricane conditions in place. And then we should start to see some slow and gradual improvement as we head into this afternoon. So